Welcome to the Manager Lab, where we delve into the increasingly dynamic world of talent management. In each episode, we will unravel key insights, break down the most relevant books and articles, and provide actionable tips to optimize your approach in developing and retaining top talent. Stay tuned for a deep dive into the art, science, and strategy of unlocking your team's full potential. Let's enter the Manager Lab. Well, welcome back to the lab. Today we're discussing a fascinating and timely Harvard Business Review article titled AI Has Broken Hiring, and Here's How to Fix It. If you're a manager, this topic matters more than you might think. Hiring has always been one of the most important responsibilities of leadership. Great hiring builds great teams, and poor hiring creates performance issues, creates problems, and endless frustration. But according to this article, artificial intelligence is fundamentally changing the hiring landscape, and not necessarily for the better. The authors make a bold argument. Many of the signals we've traditionally used to evaluate candidates are rapidly losing their value because AI can now help applicants create nearly perfect resumes, craft impressive cover letters, and even prepare polished interview responses at scale. In other words, it's becoming easier than ever for candidates to look exceptional on paper, regardless of whether they possess the underlying capabilities needed for the role. The challenge for managers is no longer identifying who interviews well. The challenge is identifying who can actually perform. So let's explore what this means, and more importantly, what managers can do about it. So key takeaway number one, traditional hiring signals are losing their predictive power. For decades, hiring processes rewarded people who could create polished resumes and deliver impressive answers during interviews. The problem is that AI can now help almost anyone do those things. Candidates can use AI tools to rewrite their resumes, optimize keywords, generate cover letters, rehearse interview answers. The result is that hiring managers are increasingly evaluating candidates based on signals that may no longer reflect true capability. And this creates a dangerous illusion. The candidate appears highly qualified. The interview feels impressive. The communication is polished. Yet the actual ability to perform the work remains uncertain. As managers, this should remind us of an important leadership principle. Never confuse presentation with performance. The best employee is not always the best interviewer. The best contributor is not always the most polished candidate. And now more than ever, managers must learn to look beyond appearances. All right, key takeaway number two, stop hiring for the ability to interview well. One of the most powerful insights from the article is that many organizations are unintentionally selecting people who are good at navigating hiring processes rather than people who are good at doing the actual work itself. Research cited by the authors included interviews with talent leaders and analysis of thousands of screening sessions, revealing that organizations risk rewarding process mastery over actual job capability. So think about that. Imagine hiring a salesperson because they can answer sales interview questions perfectly, or hiring a leader because they can describe leadership beautifully, or hiring a project manager because they know all the right terminology. I mean, those skills matter, but they're not on the job. They're not the job. The job is selling. The job is leading. The job is executing. So managers must increasingly ask themselves, am I evaluating someone's ability to talk about the work or their ability to actually do the work? Those are very different things. So key takeaway number three, assess real work, not hypothetical work. The article argues that organizations need to move closer to evaluating actual job performance rather than relying primarily on traditional interviews. This may be the single most practical lesson for managers. If you're hiring a project manager, give candidates a project scenario, case study, if you will. If you're hiring a customer service leader, present a very difficult customer situation. If you're hiring an analyst, provide data and ask them for insights and analysis. If you're hiring a supervisor, ask them to coach an underperforming employee in a role-play exercise. The closer your assessment resembles the actual job, the better your hiring decisions will become. Great managers don't simply ask candidates what they would do. They create opportunities to observe what candidates actually are doing. All right, key takeaway number 4, shift from credentials to demonstrated capability. Historically, organizations often use degrees, job titles, certifications, and resumes as shortcuts for capability. But AI is accelerating a trend that was already underway. What matters most is not where someone worked. What matters is what they can accomplish. The future of hiring is moving towards evidence-based evaluation. Can they solve problems? Give them problems. Can they collaborate? Ask for specific examples of collaboration. Can they learn quickly? Can they communicate effectively? Can they adapt? These capabilities are harder to fake and far more valuable than perfectly crafted documents. As managers, we should become collectors of evidence, not collectors of credentials. All right, so let's move from theory to action. Here's some actionable tips for you. Number 1, add a real-world work example. For every position you hire, identify at least one task that mirrors the actual work. Keep it simple. The goal is not to create a complicated assessment. The goal is to observe how candidates think, prioritize, communicate, and solve problems. And the more realistic the exercise, the more confidence you'll have in your decision. Number 2, ask experience-based questions. So instead of asking like, what would you do if, ask, tell me about a time when. So past behavior remains one of the strongest indicators of future behavior. Ask candidates to describe specific situations, specific actions they took, challenges, and the results that they got. This is classic behavioral interviewing technique. If you're familiar with the STAR model and the situation, task, action, and result, then you understand this. This is exactly what this is talking about, because details reveal authenticity. 3, evaluate learning agility. In a world changing this quickly, today's skills matter, but the ability to learn may matter even more. Ask candidates about something new they recently learned. Explore how they approach the learning process. Look for curiosity, adaptability, and growth mindset. The employees who thrive in the AI era will be continuous learners. And then 4, use structured interviews. Create a consistent set of questions for every candidate. Evaluate candidates against the same criteria. It's very important for consistency's sake. This reduces bias and improves decision quality. It also prevents interviewers from being overly influenced by charisma or first impressions, things that are subjective. Structure creates fairness. It creates consistency, and structure often creates better hiring outcomes. And 5, hire for human strengths. Ironically, as AI becomes more powerful, uniquely human capabilities become more valuable. So judgment, critical thinking, emotional intelligence or EQ, adaptability, integrity, communication. These are capabilities that technology can support but not fully replace. The future belongs to people who can combine technical capability with deeply human strengths. All right, final thoughts. The message of this article is not that AI is bad. The message is that hiring systems must evolve. When technology changes, leaders must change their methods. For years, managers relied heavily on resumes, interviews, and credentials. And these tools still have value, but they're no longer enough. The organizations that win the talent battle in the coming years will be the ones that focus less on polished presentations and more on demonstrated capability. They will look beyond the resume, beyond the interview, beyond the buzzwords, and they will ask a much better question. Can this person actually do the work and grow with the work? That's the question every great manager must learn to answer. Because at the end of the day, great hiring is not about finding the most impressive candidate. It's about finding the person who will create the greatest impact. And in the age of AI, that distinction has never been more important. And remember, the best leaders don't just hire talent. They build systems that allow true talent to be discovered. Well, thanks for listening. And until next time we meet in the Manager Lab, do good work.